What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
On it by Forfatella, off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day. And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby.
Here's Benson, can he go on the outside? Comes inside, comes up shot.
Oh, what a goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Lowdown on here on the Turfcast Podcast YouTube channel and the Turfcast Podcast. And of course, if we're doing another episode of the Lowdown on, that means another signing is through the door. Nathan Redmond has been confirmed. He is now a Burnley player. It's another one that's taken a while though, hasn't it? I mean, the Zeki Amdouni one came out of nowhere and then it was announced, but we've known about Trafford and we've known about Redmond for ages and they just took quite a while to get over the line, but it's done. It's over the line now. And of course, happy to see my cousin join the club. He's obviously not really my cousin, but I'm going to run with that joke for the entirety of his Burnley contract. So get used to it now because I'm going to be running with it. I always wanted to see Redmond on the back of a Burnley shirt, and finally that dream has come true. It's just a shame it has to be somebody else and not me. But yes, of course, we always like to get the lowdown on the new signings when they come in because we might not know too much about them. It's a little bit different in the case of Nathan Redmond, isn't it? Because obviously he's been in the Premier League for quite a while. It's not another Zeki Amdouni or Anas Sarori or somebody like that who we don't know anything about. We do know quite a bit about Nathan Redmond already, normally because he sticks the ball in the back of the net against us or he grabs an assist against us. He's done that quite a few times for Southampton down the years. Now, obviously, I'm aware we haven't got him off Southampton. I'm aware he spent the last year at Besiktas, but he played, I've got it up on my screen here, quite a lot of games for Southampton, 195 games for Southampton from the years of 2016 to 2022. So Southampton fans will know a lot about him. So I have got a Southampton fan on the podcast and I'm happy to introduce Martin Sanders from the Southampton way. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, great news, mate. Great news. So we've got another signing through the door, but I know I've just bigged up Nathan Redmond, but I want to get some out of the way first before we chat about Redmond. It's another Nathan. It's Nathan Teller. Can we have him, please? Can we have him, please? It's not splitting the fan base. I think most fans would want him, but a lot of fans are now saying, "Oh, well, we don't really need him. We don't really need him." He was our leading goal scorer last year. He was fantastic. My little boy's got stickers of him on his bed frame. I hadn't had the guts to tell him that he don't play for us anymore. So can we have him back, please? So at least I don't have to tell my little 5-year-old boy that he's not coming back.
I know Nathan Teller. What a player, by the way. We're delighted to have him back. I think any Southampton fan really want Nathan Teller at this football club next season. There's no doubt about that. We as fans don't want to see him go. We saw what he did when he come out of the Championship and played with you guys last year. Instrumental in your promotion, the goals he scored. And I wasn't shocked by his performances, I've got to be honest. I just think he was a player that needed a run of games under a great manager, Vincent Kompany. He just needed consistency. Something he's never been able to get at Southampton. Under Hasenhüttl, we never give him a run of games where he played consecutive games in the same position. You guys did that and you got the best out of him. It's all going to come down to the transfer fee. Southampton are lumping big transfer fees on their players.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a position now where you don't need to sell. Yeah,
that's what they're saying. They're wealthy owners, Sport Republic, and they want to hold on to their key assets. He's one of them. Unless the the transfer fee's right. It's the same with Tino Livramento, James Ward-Prowse, and Romario Lavia. They're the key players along with Teller. that would fetch the most money. But it would all come down to transfer fees, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's one that's going to rumble on till the end of the window. I just want to say, like, how great you sound, by the way. That microphone it's absolute beauty. We have had a couple of comments recently because I was upstairs in the office, but now I've had to come downstairs into the kitchen, and I hadn't even bothered bringing my microphone down. But I've had a few comments recently, like, the sound quality is not good enough. So everybody,
yeah, a Rode microphone. This is just a Rode microphone. It's just a decent one. It was 150 quid, but it gives you good sound. And I spend so much time doing Southampton podcasts, and I also have the pleasure of doing a podcast with my boss, Asmir Begovic. He's got his own brand, and we speak to goalkeepers and footballers on a sort of like a summer series. So I've got to have a good microphone.
Yeah, excellent. Well, mine was about 80 quid, so I think that's why yours sounds probably about the double better than mine. But yeah, fantastic. Anyway, enough podcast geeking, enough Nathan Teller fanboying. Let's get in to the Nathan Redmond chat. So obviously, like I said, we know what type of player he is, but he's a wide midfielder, a winger. But what sort of midfielder is he like? Is he still the type of player that he was? Because it's weird with Nathan Redmond, isn't it? Because when we were linked with him, he's a bit old now, isn't he? And I checked, he was 29. I couldn't believe it. 29. He's been around for a long time. Don't help that he don't look 29. He does look more 39. But yeah, in his last year at Southampton, obviously not the season just gone, the season before, was he still pacey? Was he still making runs? Was he still getting a lot of goals and assists? What type of player is he these days?
He got a little bit inconsistent near the back end of his spell with us, and that's probably why he went. But I really liked Nathan Redmond. I thought he was a really decent player, quite versatile to play in behind, sort of like the strikers, really. Hassan Hook would always play quite a narrow formation, so he'd never play wide. He'd play quite narrow. He had a lovely right foot on him. He'd come in off the left and link up play, especially under the period of time with Danny Ings. He's a great little link up player. Creates a lot of chances. He doesn't score tons of goals. Like in his first season with us, he scored 7 goals, scored on his debut against Watford. And he looked the real deal. Come in for 10 million, 2016 that was. So it seems like a lifetime ago, to be honest. But yeah, he got a bit of pace about him, but he's usually tidy with the ball, doesn't give the ball away huge amounts, but he's good with the link up.
You mentioned that pace there. Obviously, I always think of Nathan Redmond as being, quite nippy, not the fastest player in the Premier League, but quite nippy, and will leave certain defenders for dead. Did he still have that pace when he left? Because it's weird. It's weird having this conversation about him because, like I said, he feels older than what he is. But when he left you, he was 28. He's still 29 now. Like, is he still quite pacey?
He's still got a bit of pace about him. He scored 2 goals in his final season with us. Beauty was the goal that he scored against Liverpool late on in that season is his last ever goal for us. If you see it on YouTube, it was a brilliant goal. Probably one of his best Southampton goals, to be fair. He's pretty famous down here for the goal that he scored against Portsmouth in the FA Cup. He scored our 4th goal that day. Again, 2 goals, those. Classic Nathan Redmond. Coming in, dribbling, he drives at goal. He likes to go at goal. And if he can get a shot away, he's got a really, really tidy right foot on him. And he can score goals. He just doesn't score loads of goals.
You mentioned there, though, he does provide an assist. He does create chances. Is that his main strength, do you think?
Yeah. For me, like, he would set more up and bring people into play a lot more than he would score goals. Got quite a good vision as well. He'd find decent passes in behind, especially if you got a striker that's going to go in behind. Like I said a short while ago, he just used to link with Danny Ings really well. They're a great little combination in the side. When he was really consistent for us, he had a really good season, sort of his 3rd season with us. He's fans player of the year, players player of the year. I mean, he was pretty instrumental that season in keeping us up 5 points from getting relegated that year. And we were pretty close to going down in it. He was a bit of a leader, to be fair, Redders. And I think he's good around the dressing room. And he definitely pulled things together for us. No doubt about it. That season, he was really, really important.
That's weird. That I just heard you call him Redders. Some friends, some place down the years have called me Redders or Big Redders. Shout out Perry if you're listening. Like I said, he's 29. A lot of fans have commented saying, "Oh, we don't want to sign Townsend. We don't want to sign Redmond because he's over the hill." Do you agree with that, or do you still think he's got some that football left in him at a high level?
Oh, mate, it'd be a great asset for you. It'd be a great asset. He probably won't be a starter every week, will he? But he'd be a great addition to your squad, really. Premier League experience, understands the Premier League. he'd be up with the pace of the game pretty quickly. He looks, like you said at the top of the show, he looks a lot older than what he actually is, doesn't he?
Yeah,
but he's still relatively young in terms of a footballer. You know, if you compare him to Teller, I always thought that when Redmond left, Nathan Teller would be the one that stepped up. Nathan Teller would come into our side, and we bizarrely let both go at the same time. And we brought in a lad called Samuel Odozie, who they said, "Oh yeah, he's going to be as good as Teller." Nowhere near as good as either of them at the time. It'd be good in the future, but at this moment in time, you need people that are Premier League ready. Nathan will give you that.
Yeah, you mentioned there the experience. I think that's why he's coming in, to be honest. I think it's a Premier League experience. But that's a good asset to have, isn't it, in the building? When you look at our squad, obviously, I don't know how much you know about Burnley, but not a lot of the players have played a lot of Premier League football. I know people will point to Jack Cork, Josh Brownhill, Connor Roberts played quite a bit as well for us in the season. We went down, obviously, Veghorst as well now. But he's going to come in with hundreds and hundreds of Premier League experience of Premier League experience. Same with Townsley. That alone is good to bring in the building, isn't it? But to say you're bringing in someone who's 29, who you said will be a great asset in terms of his actual football as well, is it? Do you think it's a decent signing for Burnley, especially on a free?
Oh, on a free, I think it's a brilliant signing. I think it's a great bit of business. I think you should be chuffed to bits with it. The fact that you haven't had to pay any money for him, he comes in with like that experience, and he'd be up to speed with the Premier League. You know, to be fair, I think he had a fairly decent season last season in Turkey. I think he got injured, maybe injured his wrist. He had an operation. Can't remember what it. I didn't really follow him that much last year, but I know he had an injury at some period last season. But he played a lot of football. You know, you look at the statistics. He was, a regular for them last season. So, he's going to come in. He looks a lot stronger. He's bulked out a bit. I don't know if you've noticed. If you looked at some of his earlier videos and pictures of him when he joined us in 2016, and you look at him now, he's a lot more physical than he probably used to be.
Yeah, I did notice that because when I was trying to find a picture of him for the thumbnail that obviously I had on screen at the start, and obviously if you've clicked on this on YouTube, you would have seen it through YouTube anyway. I did notice that he has changed a bit since his Southampton days. He does look a little bit more physical. Maybe it's just the Besiktas training regime, or he decided he needed to bulk up himself. Just going back to something you said earlier, you said he played quite narrow quite a lot rather than being a wide midfielder. Played quite narrow in the system. Did he play like as a number 10? Almost behind the two strikers, or was it sort of like a narrow midfielder on the right or the left of the midfield?
Sometimes. So Hasenhüttl would like to play like a 4-3-2, and he'd probably be like you'd have your two strikers. He'd play in like almost like a pivot in behind the front two. He'd usually come off the left. To be fair, he'd come off the left, but he'd link up with Ward-Prowse a lot in midfield. He'd pick the ball up and he looked to run with it and looked to make things happen. He was one of those players that he liked to get on the ball. Very, very confidence driven. Like a lot of footballers, you need confidence. He had a period of time sort of out of the side in his last season. He looked like he lost a bit of confidence, and he really struggled to sort of get himself back up to where he wanted to be. But he's just a player a bit like Tele. He will need consistency. And I put a tweet out today to sort of talk about his memories. So obviously, knew he was going to come on with you today and just get other fans to, because it's very mixed down here, like the opinions on him.
Yeah.
And the one thing that kind of comes through, frustratingly inconsistent, considering his natural abilities. But a gentleman said to me here, and Kev Hater, and he's right, he's got good balance. He's got good balance. He said he had poor decision making at times, and self-belief did hinder him. And that is true to an extent. I didn't think his distribution was terrible, but I think his self-confidence at periods of time, he did lose a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
Like, it happens with footballers in playing in that role, though. If you're not scoring goals and you're not finding your passer in the side that's struggling against relegation, it can be very hard to be confident all the time.
Yeah, sure. I feel like Chris Wood was kind of like that. He was a bit of a confidence player. If he didn't score for a while, he'd end up not scoring for about 6 months until one went in off his backside, and then he'd go from there. He's obviously coming in, like you mentioned there, the confidence. My initial thought was, well, he's going to be coming in working for Vincent Kompany. We had a brilliant squad, sort of like harmony last year. Everyone was confident all the time. They were buzzing. Obviously, it's going to be a completely different season this season. We're going to start off by getting spanked 6-7-0 off Man City, probably. And then it's already going to be an uphill battle from there. We've got Villa at home after that, then Spurs at home. Do you think he will sort of like go into his shell a little bit if we start slowly, or do you think he'll relish working under somebody like Vincent Kompany? Because you've already mentioned, obviously, Teller was relishing working under Vincent Kompany with Burnley last year. Do you think he can have a similar effect on Redmond?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you'll find that Redmond and Teller would be fairly close. I think they get on fairly well. You've seen them I follow Teller a lot on Instagram and stuff, and they've often been in each other's stories. So they obviously get on well. And I'm no doubt that Redmond would have had a good chat with Nathan Teller before making his move. But I think to go and play under a manager like Vincent Kompany would be outstanding for him. And like you say, what he did with Teller last season, what he did with your squad of players was nothing short of remarkable. With the turnaround of players that you had at the football club this time a year ago, your business was done earlier. Everybody down here talks about Burnley. You spoke about a lot down here on the South Coast and the way that you did business last summer and the way you went about your business and how quickly things were done. And like what he achieved by doing what he had to do in that summer. And somebody said there was a turnaround of about 21 players. I don't know how correct that is. But you should go and play under a manager like Vincent Kompany. Who wouldn't? Free agent, go and play under him. He's going places as a manager, isn't he?
Yeah, honestly, I really think he is. I spoke to a Swiss football expert yesterday and asked him about Vincent Kompany. I said, I genuinely believe he's going to win titles as a manager and potentially even manage Belgium at a World Cup, the highest accolades that you can do as a manager. I also always like to you mentioned there, so it's a nice bridge into my next bit, because I always do like to ask opposition fans their thoughts on Burnley. You've kind of given your thoughts already there a little bit, but we'll just go into it a little bit deeper. Of course, last season, lost Dyche, played in a certain way for so long, completely ripped the heart out of the squad as well. Tarkowski leaving, Ben Mee, Ashley Westwood left as well, Nick Pope, and then we had to bring it. I think we lost 16 players in the summer. It was a high mark. So obviously then we've had to bring Vincent Kompany in, bring all these unknown players in at the time, Anna Sarori, Manuel Benson, players I'd never heard of, I'll be honest with you, but they've ended up tearing the Championship up. What's your thoughts on how Burnley's transformed as a club in the last 18 months?
I think they're a role model for anybody that's just got relegated from the Premier League, how to go about things. I think Southampton would love to do a Burnley next season. I don't think for 1 minute that we will, but you look at what they did last summer, like I touched on it a second ago, like the transfer business they did and the players they had to lose. Lights and Nick Pope, who's an outstanding goalkeeper. You look at what he did at Newcastle last season. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the division, if not the best goalkeeper in the division. He was an incredible goalkeeper. So Burnley have something about goalkeepers, don't they? You've had some great goalkeepers go through that football club. You look back at Tom Heaton, I know, and Paul Robinson was there for a period of time around that time as well. And Joe Hart's been through there. You seem to have brilliant goalkeepers, and I think that's the one big thing for Premier League when I look at it sort of from our side. Last season we had a very young goalkeeper come in from League One in Gavin Bazunu, who really, really struggled. So I think the goalkeeping department is absolutely vital for you guys this year. See how the window unfolds. But Jay Rodriguez, he's still with you?
Yeah, he is. He's still with us. Obviously, got good connections down there. Quite highly thought of down there, Jay, I believe. Yeah.
Burnley's well thought of as a club down here, and we really liked Jay Rodriguez. Obviously, like Jack Cork was down here as well for a good period of time. Great midfielder. Real reminds me of Ward-Prowse, but without the free kick. He just do all the simple things really, really well. Keep the ball moving. Very rarely give the ball away. Very good stats. People like him are good players. I think you'll surprise yourselves next season. Like you said a minute ago, you go to City early on. I remember when we come back to the Premier League from the Championship, when we got promoted back to the Premier League last time round, and our first game was at City, and as fans we all looked at it, oh no, we're going to get absolutely obliterated here, and we run them really close that day. I think we lost 3-2. Ricky Lambert come off the bench and scored there, and it was just one of those days. We fared a lot better. I think standards a step up. You've got the right man at the helm. You started pre-season early. That's one thing I did notice.
Yeah,
very
early.
They're going to be ready.
They're going to be ready. We're just hoping there's no burnout towards the end of January. But obviously, it was a weird situation with pre-season. They brought him in for a couple of weeks, then they let him go again, and then they brought them all back again, and they went to Portugal as a squad as well. But yeah, just going back to goalkeepers there, even the days when I was younger, like I'm 35 now. A lot of people who listen to the podcast regularly will be aware of that. But obviously, the first goalkeeper I remember at Burnley, where a lad called Chris Pearson, there used to be a chant with that PSC gives a dance, and then he'd do a little dancing net, went ball at the other side of the pitch, and then Marlon Beresford, Nicole Makopoulos. I know I could just be saying anything to you. But yeah, we've always been, I had a good connection with goalkeepers. So hopefully it's the same. And even last year with Muric, like he started off poorly and had a bit of stick, but I think in the end, the fans warmed to him. I don't know what it is about Burnley and goalkeepers. There's always seems to be a connection with goalkeepers. Hopefully James Trafford is the same. If, of course, James Trafford's going to be a starter, I think he will be. But yeah, we'll see.
He's highly thought of.
Yeah. It's good to hear that. I know he's highly thought of at West Brom as well. Is Jay, so it's good to know. But you had short hair, Jay, didn't you? Back in day, before he grew his hair. Now we've all got long hair, Jay. But
he played in the side for us under Maurizio Pochettino, who brought the best out of Jay Rodriguez. He was in a phenomenal side, actually. When you look back at the side that he played in, like he got a nasty injury, didn't he? And it nearly finished his career, but he was playing with Ricky Lambert, Adam Lallana, Morgan Schneidlin, Victor Wanyama in midfield. They had a really good combination. Those players, he was really important for a period of time for us. I remember a goal he scored at Fulham. Again, he's got good experience in the Premier League. He'd be a leader, wouldn't he, in the dressing room, you would think.
Yeah. He's one of them. I don't think he'll be playing much. And he's a Burnley lad as well. So I know last season, my worry last season when we were playing Blackburn, obviously we had a lot of foreign lads, a lot of new lads, a lot of young lads. I'm like, some of these aren't going to know how much this means to us. But I was kind of happy that Jay was there, knowing that he'd be relaying the message. And Barnsley as well. I know he's not a Burnley lad, he's Barnsley, but I know Barnsley would have known how much it meant. But yeah, it's brilliantly good to have one in the dressing. I don't think he'll play too much this year, if I'm honest. I think he'll probably be third or fourth in the pecking order down the strikers. But yeah, we love him at Burnley. We love him here at Turfcast. Absolute legend. And obviously, it helps that he's a Burnley lad as well. It's always good to see someone from your hometown do well. Yeah. But just going back to Nathan Redmond, I know we've done quite a lot on it. We'll just round it off nicely with my final question on Nathan Redmond. We've mentioned some comments being over the hill. We've mentioned his age, even though he's not actually that old. People just think he is. I wish I were 29 still.
Yeah, me too.
And built like a brick shithouse, like he seems to be now. Can he still do it in the Prem? Like, do you think he'll do it? I know you mentioned there he might have to. He'll acclimatise to the pace of the Premier League, but do you think that'll take a few months, a few weeks, or do you think he'll be able to hit the ground running?
I think he better hit the ground running for you. I really do. He played a lot of games for us in the Premier League over the 6 years he was here. Played a lot of games. I think he'd be more. He's only been out of the Premier League for a year, so he's only been away for a year. He looks after himself. I think he's somebody that works really hard off the field. So I'd expect him to go in the Burnley side and give you somebody in the dressing room that will be a good egg. I don't think he's a bad egg. I think he's a good egg, a good human to have around. And I don't think there's any doubt that he'd be an asset for your football club without any question.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I know I only messaged similar to the Swiss football expert yesterday. I only messaged you today about it. Thankfully, you managed to come on. So I always appreciate it when people give up the time. And a great guest as well, like really good equipment, nice background. My background's a bit shit at the minute, if I'm being honest. We'll get it sorted, guys. At least the sound is a lot better now. Let me know in the comments below if the sound is better, because I did see the comment yesterday about the sound not being great. I was using the microphone in the AirPods. I don't think the kitchen helps as well. It's a bit echoey. But hopefully we'll get back in the studio soon. Or bit of an exclusive here on Turfcast. We might have a new studio coming up at some point over the next few months, but fingers crossed. But anyway, thank you very much, Martin, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I always like to give people the chance to plug their socials and stuff. So where can people find you and watch and listen to what you do? Yeah, so the majority of my work is on Twitter. I'm just a Southampton fan. I love talking about football. I love talking about transfer news at @footballmartin_. Same again on Instagram as well. I'm just on a TikTok as well randomly because everybody needs to have a TikTok account. So and I'm on the Southampton Way podcast. We will be back very shortly. We're going to do a transfer roundup in the next couple of days actually, and just go over the summer outgoings and incomings. Things are slow down here at the moment. Things are not moving as quick as our fans would quite like them to be. No, yeah. Well, hopefully we can talk about another outgoing soon when Nathan Teller comes to Turf Moor. Fingers crossed. That'll give you some content at least. I'm thinking of you, mate. I'm thinking of you. Yeah, I'll be gutted if he goes. Absolutely gutted. No, I understand that. But Martin, like I've said already, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you everybody for watching. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, thank you everybody for listening. If you're listening on the podcast, hopefully there's a few more of these coming up soon. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening, and I will see you next time.